Be'ez Hashem Yisborach, we begin Perek Chamisha, the 5th chapter in the Rambam's Hilchos Nedarim, the laws of vows in the Sefer HaFlah, which now the Rambam continues regarding specifics of these halachas, that of, in this perek, discussing when someone takes a vow in relation to someone else, and how that relates to different mixtures, exchanges, and different outgrowths of those entities. As the Rambam begins halacha aleph regarding if someone is madel la'achar, as the Rambam explains, Reuven shamal l'Shimon, Reuven tells to Shimon, Hareni lecha chayrim, my properties are on you like the chayrim of bedek habayis, which is like that of hektish, which is forbidden to have benefit from it. Oy hari ata asaban yasi, or more direct, he says, you're forbidden to have benefit from me. Nesral Shimon shihana beReuven, so it becomes forbidden on Shimon to have benefit from Reuven, because a person can make his properties forbidden on someone else. V'mava v'nana, now if Shimon goes ahead and has benefit from Reuven, and you're like it didn't get lashes, Sharei lo omer Shimon klum, because Shimon didn't say anything, so he's not violating Bayachal Devar, which would give him a set of lashes. Now, moreover, Reuven lahanis b'Shimon, it's permitted for Reuven to have benefit from Shimon. Sharei lo asar atzma b'niyasa, he didn't make him forbidden on Shimon, he only made Shimon forbidden on himself. And the chiddush in that is that we don't say that, no, Reuven's intent was to separate himself from Shimon, and not to give benefit from him and not to take benefit from him. We're saying no, he only made him forbidden to have benefit from him, but Reuven could have benefit from Shimon. Halacha beis. Amal Shimon, let's say tell Shimon, Harei ata alai chayrim, you are on me chayrim. Hareini asa b'ani yascha. Now the other way around, Reuven is making himself forbidden to have benefit from Shimon. So Harei nesa Reuven melahavan mahanas l'Shimon. So in this case, Reuven's forbidden to have benefit from Shimon. Now in this case, in contradistinction to the first halacha, the nena here, if he does have benefit, like he gets lashes. Sherichil devar, because here he's desecrating his words. That's the bal yachal devar that the Torah tells, which are a lot in the Torah, which you get lashes for. And here it was his own words that he's desecrating, in contrast to the first halacha. Yet Shimon mutaban is Reuven, but again, like in the first case, here Shimon would be permitted to have benefit from Reuven, because only Reuven saying he won't benefit from Shimon, not Shimon from Reuven. Amalei, let's say he tells him, Harenya lecha cherem va'atu alai. Let's say he says, I'm like a cherem on you and you're cherem on me. I'm forbidden your benefit, you're forbidden to have benefit from me. Then Shnei Masrum is and they're both forbidden to have benefit one from the other. And all cases that are similar to that. Halacha Gimel. Reuven shamal l'Shimon. If Reuven tells to Shimon, Harei peiris plain yasrin alecha. He says that person, someone else's produce, is forbidden on you. Or a different version, you're forbidden in having benefit from that person. That's nothing. A person cannot make his friend forbidden to something that's not his own. On the Shimon Amen, only Shimon would answer Amen on that vow. Like we explained in Perek Beis Halacha Aleph, but that's saying Amen is an acceptance of the vow. Then it's like he took it himself, which then yes, a person can make other people's things forbidden on himself. Halacha Dal. If someone says to his friend, Kikari zu asur alecha, this loaf that's mine is forbidden on you. So, even if he subsequently gifts it to him, gives it to him as a gift, this loaf of bread is still forbidden on him. And we don't say that, no, his intention was only to say that he's making it forbidden, that he's going to eat with him when it's still his, but now when he gives it to him as a gift, where once he gives it as a gift, it's not his anymore. Now, once he said that my loaf is forbidden on you, he made it like hektish, and therefore it remains forbidden. Meis v'nafali birusha. Now, let's say he dies, and now that other person is related to him and inherits it from him. Or someone, he gives it to someone else, and that other person gives it to that other person. Then it is permitted. Because he only said my loaf. Now that he's dead, now that it was someone else's, it's not his, and therefore it's going to be permitted for someone else to give it to him. Now, however, hey, let's say he tells him, he says, these fruits, they're forbidden on you. It doesn't say like in the first halacha, my fruits, my loaf. It just says these fruits. So even if he subsequently sells it to someone else, or if he dies and it falls in the Yerusha to someone else, it's still forbidden to that person. And the reason is because someone that makes something that's his forbidden on someone else, even though it leaves his domain, it still retains the prohibition that he had put on it when it was in his domain. Unless if he says in the previous halacha, my properties, or veisi, or my house, or my produce, and things like that, because then he only made it forbidden as long as it's his house, his fruits, in his domain. And once it leaves that, then it's permitted. But here we didn't say that. It's just Peiros Elu, then it can be forbidden even after that point. Now, Halacha Vav, the Rambam continues regarding if someone makes a vow forbidding benefit on that other person, which is his son. Someone says to his son, you're forbidden to have benefit for me. Or similarly, he takes an oath that he's not going to have a pleasure from him. If the father dies, Yerushena, the son will inherit him because inheritance comes by itself, and it's not like as if the father is giving it to him. Shazeh Kaimer, where it's like he's telling him, that means say when the son does inherit it, it's like he's saying my properties are forbidden on you, and therefore it's only like nechasai, which is only like we said as long as he's alive. So when he's saying you're forbidden to have benefit for me, that's again limited to when he's alive, and therefore when he dies, the son's going to inherit him. But let's say let's say he says he's forbidden to have benefit from him, and he specifies whether I'm alive, whether I'm dead. Oh, then and if he dies, Layushan is not going to inherit him. That's like, and again we're drawing the parallel of the previous halachas. We're here in Yerush, you have both, depending on the case. Here it's like he said to him, these properties are forbidden on you, which he can make it forbidden even after it leaves his domain. So again, it depends. If it doesn't specify, then it's like as if he says Nachasai, which only is forbidden as long as he's alive. But if he says Bein B'maisi, then it's like the case when he just says Nachasam Elu, which can be forbidden after that he's dead. Halacha Zayin, once we're talking about regarding the son, Asr B'noi B'hanayaseh. Let's say he makes his son forbidden to have benefit from him, and again he says whether he's alive, whether when he's dead. But Vamei says, but if my son's son, this son, if his son is a Talmid Chacham, Yikne b'ni zeh nochasai, which that's the Chiddush in the Rambam, says, this son of mine will acquire my estate, but not for himself, because he's saying it's forbidden from him, Kedei laknoisim lebenoi, to acquire it to his son. And the Chiddush in that is because if his grandson is not a Talmid Chacham, he actually wants to give his estate to the other son that he has, and therefore there's nothing going to be left for the grandson. But in this case, if the son's going to be Talmid Chacham, then he wants his son to get it to give it to his son. Then it's permitted. And yes, the son himself will be in his father's estate. But the grandson will be permitted if he's going to be a Talmudic scholar, like he has stipulated. Now, this son that we said is forbidden in the inheritance of his father. But if he gives his father what he inherits from his father's estate, which is forbidden to have benefit, to his brothers or to his sons, that's going to be permitted because ultimately the properties are his. It's just forbidden for him to have benefit. So, as we're going to explain, if he does in a way that he's quote unquote not having benefit, well then he's allowed to use it. So if he pays up a debt with it, he pays up the dowry of let's say a woman that he divorced, he's allowed to use those monies. But he has to notify them, these are the properties of my father that made it forbidden on me, and therefore he's not going to get what's called teivas, and he's not going to get any gratitude even by giving these things, because he has to give it, and as we're going to explain shortly, that giving is not considered anna, and additionally he's not even going to get the gratitude of giving it, because he's saying it's not really me, I'm just using it because I have nothing else to use it for. And because someone that swears that his friend will not have benefit from it, that recipient that's not allowed benefit, he's allowed to use it to pay his debts, kamishis bar, like we're going to explain later on in the next parak on halacha dal, which, as the Rambam explains, ultimately the recipient's not really getting any benefit. All he's doing is removing an outstanding debt on himself, and therefore, since the father himself could have paid up the debt, and because it's only called mavrich ari, and it's not considered giving anything to the recipient, therefore he's allowed to go ahead and use those funds in that way, and it's not a violation of the neder. Halacha Tes, the Rambam continues regarding different offshoots of this prohibition of the neder as it applies to tareivus, regarding mixtures. Someone that was forbidden on him one of the different types of foods, maybe whether a vow, whether an oath, now it was cooked with other types of foods, or got mixed in with them, so he's permitted in those other permitted species. Although it has, now that it cooked together, the taste of the forbidden item, the thing that had the neder on it, because he only made himself forbidden on that species as it is in its whole state, and not through a mixture. Now, now, let's say, however, he became forbidden in these produce, where he said that Peiris Elu Asur Nalai, the Nisar Bachem, they got mixed with other things. Im yesh behen tam davar athar, then if it does have a taste of the forbidden item, Asur, then it can be forbidden from law, but if not, then they're going to be permitted, which is like anything that's Asur that gets mixed with permitted things. If it has the taste, it's forbidden. If it doesn't have the taste, then it can be permitted. As Rambam continues, Halacha and he explains, Ketzad, how so? Nesa b'basa b'yayin, if he became forbidden with a neder with meat or wine, there's a mutalechel marak. He's allowed to eat the gravy, the rokis, and the vegetables from the spashal mabasa b'yayin that got cooked with the meat and with the wine. Even though it has the taste of the meat or the taste of the wine, because like we explained for the first halacha, because he only made forbidden on himself the eating of meat as it is, or wine as it is. It wasn't these meats or these wines, it was meat and wine. So meat and wine is forbidden, but something that has the taste of meat and wine, that was never forbidden. Now, halacha yud alf. But let's say, as we said, the second halacha was Nesha b'basa zel b'yayin zel. It says this meat or this wine is forbidden, which now that becomes a chaticha disu, this becomes a forbidden item. And this bashma yark, and then it was cooked with vegetables. So then we said, if the vegetable had the taste of meat or taste of wine, then that's forbidden. But if not, then we term then like is an all isurim. If it doesn't have the taste, then it's going to be permitted. As we explained, because this meat and this wine, become like the meat of a nevelo, shkotzim, and of unkosher of bugs, and things like that, where became the actual chaticha di isura, because it said this meat, making this a forbidden item, and therefore it's going to give a prohibition as long as it gives a taste. But again, when it doesn't say zeh, he only made the idea of meat and wine, well, that would only be the thing as itself, not the taste. With anything like this too, again, where it's a chaticha di isura, is going to make the taste forbidden. Now, the fikr, therefore, since he's making like an actual prohibited item, which the taste makes it forbidden with a mixture too, if someone says, bas is asa, like this meat is forbidden on me, so he's not allowed to have the meat, and with the gravy, and the spices, because again, they all have the taste of that forbidden meat. Let's say this wine that he made forbidden on himself, which was this wine, they got mixed with other wines. So even one drop into a whole barrel of kosher wine, Nesar Kol, it all becomes forbidden. Why? Because he could go ahead and ask and permit and undo his vow, which you're allowed to do in any neder. So this in halach of taruv is what's called something that has permitters. You don't have to use bittul, you don't have to use nullification to permit the isser, because you can make it all permitted by undoing the isser, which in this case is to be shoyla on the neder. Such halacha she'ina bata b'minas, and the halacha is rabbinically that there's no nullification when it's mixed in with the same species. Like explained in Hilchos Machazos in the 15 perek halacha yud, and therefore even one drop in a huge barrel is not going to be batal because it's davar shesh matin, because you can be shown the neder, and therefore it's going to be asur. Halacha Yud Gimel, the Rambam continues regarding exchanges of the prohibited item and different outgrowths. So, let's say someone says, Peiris ha'elu carbon alai. These fruits are like forbidden on me like a carbon. Or carbon him lefi, or they're like a carbon to my mouth. So, although that sounds like that it's like for eating and not for other benefits, carbon him al pi, or they're like a carbon on my mouth. But hareza asa b'chilufeim, so he's forbidden on their exchanges. If, let's say, he barters this for something else or some monies, even that's going to be forbidden. And their growth. So, let's say he takes them and he plants them. So that's also going to be aser. And the reason for that is because since he specified these fruits, so he made it into like a hektish item, which the exchanges and the growths are also forbidden. And we don't have to say regarding the liquids that come out of these fruits, because it's coming from the fruit itself, that's definitely more intense than just the exchange or the growth, which are not from the actual thing itself, that they're all going to be aser. But let's say he took a vow or he swore, I'm not going to eat them, or I'm not going to taste them. So, if it's something that the seed totally disintegrates when you plant it, for example, chitus, or wheat and barley. So here he's going to be permitted in their exchanges and in their growths, because here he only made it forbidden in these peiros. Now, the exchange and the growths doesn't have a taste of these peiros that he made forbidden himself, so it's going to be permitted. Now, now, let's say it's something that the seed does not disintegrate when you plant it, Rather, what happens is actually that the seed actually increases on the ground. For example, b'tzalim b'shuman, onions and garlic. Then afili giduli nasrun. Then even the growth of the growth, you take the growth and you make another growth from that, is it going to be forbidden? And it says Rambam benkach. And whether if the seed disintegrates or not, mashkana yitzmim suffik, the liquid that comes out of it is at least a doubt if it's forbidden or not, because it's possible that he only intended to make the fruit itself, the taste on himself forbidden, not the liquids that come out, because they're only like gathered inside, but not part of the pre itself. On the other hand, maybe it is the pre, and so suffik derais is l'chumra. But since only done, lefikachim shasmem, if he does drink from them, ain't like he's not going to get lashes, because we do not give lashes regarding that of a suffik. So again, this was regarding, because we said in these cases was I'm not going to eat them, I'm not going to taste from them, so it has to be from the thing itself. And here, again, if it's something that's not the thing itself, because it's an exchange, or if it's a growth that's not from the thing itself, because it disintegrates, then it's going to be permitted. So if someone says to his wife, your handiwork, whatever you make, is forbidden on me like a carbon. Or carbon him or they're carbon to my mouth. Or carbon him or they're carbon on my mouth. So also is forbidden in the exchanges and regarding their growth. Now, that's like we said in the first halacha. But let's say it says, I'm not going to taste, I'm not going to eat. So that's referring to this thing itself. So if the handiwork that you made was something that the seed disintegrates, so when you exchange it, when you plant it and there's growth, so then you permit it because it's not the original item. But if something that the seed does not disintegrate, I feel like then even the growths are going to be forbidden. Now says Rambam, but why? Why don't you say that the primary root that is the forbidden thing should be nullified, at least in the majority of the new growths, which are more than the original seed, which that usually with the laws of bittul should nullify it. So it says again, they said the idea because this is something that can be permitted by having a sheilas chacham, as we said in Halachid Beis, where there's no nullification, even in the majority. Like we explained over there in that halacha. If someone makes his produce forbidden on his friend, whether with an oath or a vow, here the growths and the exchanges are actually a suffix. And the reason for the suffix is because since the growths and the exchanges didn't come yet at the time that he took the neder, it's possible a person cannot make something forbidden on his friend that has not yet come into the world yet, because it only is his own peers that he can make forbidden, but something that's not here, he can't. It's only when he's making someone else's things forbidden on himself. Then we say it could be even chilufein v'gedulein, because a person could be iser someone else's things or something that's not here on himself. So therefore it could be even davar shlevel olam. But maybe someone else to do it on that other person, maybe not, or maybe yes. So it's a suffix. So his friend is initially forbidden in the outgrowths and in the exchanges. But if he violated, he had benefit, and again, he's not going to get lashes because they don't get lashes regarding a suffix.